Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video, doing the European outlook for today's second video. So as always on a Thursday, we're having a look in detail at the weather for the next week, 10 days for Europe, and I shall get on with that for you in a moment. Just to say that the first video released today was our 6 AM upload. We're going to have a live stream at 6 PM. I should have live streamed yesterday, but I've been quite off colour, so I took the evening off and just spent it sleeping, basically, and so I'm feeling quite a bit better today. Still not 100%, but I'm feeling a lot better than I did yesterday. So I'm going to do our 10 to 14 day live at 6 PM this evening. Straight after that, you'll be able to see the fourth and final Christmas 2022 sneaky peeky, so that will be coming up for you just after the live stream ends this evening, probably around 7 PM. So if you're enjoying the content on the channel, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much everybody for doing that, and make sure you tell your friends to subscribe as well. We thank you so very much for doing that. Right, so let's have a look then what's happening across Europe today. Very mild. We've got high pressure across central and eastern parts of Europe and low pressure out in the Atlantic. And this is combining to bring up a very mild, if not warm, southerly wind across many parts of Europe. Here's the upper air temperature today. Look how warm these upper air temperatures are, with hot air from North Africa through Spain and into southern parts of France. Very warm. I'd say hot, because we've got like the 20 Celsius isotherm there across central Spain. Very warm air going into northern parts of France, and this warmth extends further northwards into the UK and Ireland as well, covering much of Germany, the Low Countries too, up to Denmark as well. Just the extreme north of Scandinavia looking much colder there, and also this far east and northeastern part of Europe looks a little bit cooler too. But overall, the upper air temperatures are very, very warm for the time of the year, remarkably so. Of course, talking about high pressure, most parts of Europe are dry. We have got some showery rain, sleet and snow through central and northern parts of Scandinavia, a little bit of rain in the North Sea, and some wet weather just approaching Ireland and Portugal and northwestern parts of Spain, but most other areas are dry today, probably with fog and low cloud and that high pressure across some central and eastern parts of Europe. The main remarkable thing today, though, maybe is the temperature. Look how warm it is across the western part of Europe, with both southerly wind temperatures widely into the 20s Celsius, upper 20s Celsius here through France, getting into the 30s Celsius down towards Spain. Much of the Med looking very warm as we have to go up to the far north of Scandinavia to find winter there in the extreme north of Norway, Sweden, and also Finland as well. But most areas are very mild or warm, just a little bit cooler again through these Baltic Sea states and down towards Ukraine as well. A little bit cooler through those areas, but much of Europe remarkably mild or warm today. That's how things looking tomorrow. So high pressure still dominating in most areas. Low pressure out to the far north and west of Europe, being some unsettled weather there. The core of the warmth is being pushed more towards Germany and Poland by the time you get through to tomorrow. And actually, it's turning a little bit cooler out across the UK and Ireland. Still mild, but a little bit cooler across the UK and Ireland with those upper air temperatures. See how the heat again extends down into the Mediterranean, most parts of Spain and the central part of the Med looking really warm, and then the far north and northeast of Europe just that little bit cooler once more. Again, in that area of high pressure, most places are dry. We do have some wet weather through northern parts of Portugal into northwestern Spain, some outbreaks of rain through the far north of the UK and into Ireland as well. Showery rain, sleet and snow through Norway and up into northern parts of Sweden as well. A little bit of showery rain, sleet, snow through northern parts of Finland, and some wet weather around the Baltic Sea states of Latvia, Estonia and Lithuania, but the bulk of Europe dominated by high pressure and looking dry. Very warm air from the Mediterranean up into France, into the Low Countries, extending through into Germany and increasingly towards Poland as well tomorrow. The far north of Europe again looks quite a lot cooler, cold in the extreme north of Scandinavia. And just cooling down a bit through the UK and Ireland, temperatures dropping down a shade tomorrow in the UK and through Ireland too. Most parts of Med looking really warm once more. Saturday, the ongoing high-pressure pattern domination continues, so high pressure continues to sit there across most parts of Europe. Low pressure pushing through Scandinavia, bringing a blast of colder air into Scandinavia from the north, so a little bit of a push of colder air up there. Otherwise, again, most places are looking really mild or warm with those upper air temperatures. That's how they're set up for Saturday. Again, remarkably warm, really. I mean, these are absolutely astounding charts. This is 29th of October, and we've got the plus 15 Celsius isotherm up to the northern shores of France. It is remarkable, this spell of weather. Again, many parts of central Western Europe looking really mild. But warmth is coming back in towards the southern eastern part of the UK again, actually. Just Scandinavia stands out as being a lot cooler, with that little push of northerly winds bringing colder air into particularly Norway, but also some northern parts of Sweden as well. Outbreaks of rain, sleet and snow in the extreme north of Scandinavia, particularly affecting Finland into the northwest of Russia. More outbreaks of rain trying to get into Portugal, Spain and the UK and Ireland, being held off though by the area of high pressure in the main, and the rest of Europe dominated by the high pressure keeps the weather mostly dry. The temperatures are the big talking point. Again, really warm with the temperatures through France, into Belgium, Holland, Netherlands, Germany. Widespread temperatures into the upper teens, low or mid-20s Celsius. Completely remarkable for the time of the year. Again, we see that Scandinavia does stand out as being quite a lot colder. That's Sunday, and the ridge domination goes on. No change, really, in most areas. Again, we've got that swipe of colder air just in the far north and northeast of Europe, and begin to look a little bit wetter and windier out across Ireland and the UK as well. The upper air temperatures show the warmth again being pushed towards Germany and Poland on Sunday. There's that swipe of colder air from Scandinavia affecting some of those Baltic Sea states now, and also into the far northwest of Russia. Cold enough for snow in any showers up in that extreme northeastern corner of Europe, northwestern corner of Russia. And not quite as warm for the UK and Ireland, but still very mild with those southwesterly winds. Most of the Med looking really warm as well. Again, high pressure's in control, so most parts of Europe are dry on Sunday. Just the UK and Ireland and perhaps Portugal looking at a little bit more unsettled with some showy outbreaks of rain. And then, of course, we've got the chance of wintry conditions in the far north and northeast of Europe, and northwest Russia could be some wintry showers through there. Temperatures, again, looking very mild in most areas, at least into the upper teens, if not below 20 Celsius quite widely, across most parts of Europe, northern Scandinavia, and into the far northeast Baltic Sea states, looking quite a bit colder. Moving through to Monday, high pressure is slipping a little bit further towards the eastern side of Europe as lower pressure is gathering out in the Atlantic and starting to head in towards the western side of Europe. The upper air temperatures show the warmest air with the high pressure now into Germany and Poland, beginning to get a little bit milder through Scandinavia, as well as that cold push of northerly air begins to retreat away back in towards the Arctic and the west of Russia. Same time, though, cooling down a little bit through UK and Ireland as wet and windy weather threatens from off the Atlantic. So we've got a band of wet and windy weather through the UK, down into France, Spain, Portugal. That's the first band of rain from off the Atlantic, breaking down the high pressure. Anywhere to the east of that, though, looks mostly dry again under that large area of high pressure, and the upper and the surface temperature, I should say, looking like that. Now, becoming a little bit cooler for the UK and Ireland, going back to about average temperatures, really, but it will be notable that we start to bring some fresher air in from off the Atlantic. Also Spain, Portugal starting to look a bit cooler, and the warmth being pushed a little bit further eastwards, more towards the central and eastern part of Europe, the far north and northeast, again looking quite cold. Into Tuesday, high pressure dominates across central and eastern parts of Europe. Low pressure is coming in from off the Atlantic out west. The warm upper air temperatures are being moved more towards the eastern part of Europe now, as the air increasingly starts driving in from off the Atlantic. This is relatively mild air, it must be said, but it's not as the westerly airstream from off the Atlantic is not as warm as like that southerly airstream from North Africa and the Mediterranean. So the real warmth is being pushed into the eastern part of Europe as these mild, but not excessively so, upper air temperature coming from off the Atlantic. Wet and windy for the UK and Ireland, also more rain heading in towards parts of Portugal as well. Some wet weather gets going through some parts of Norway into Sweden and also affecting Denmark too. Otherwise, once more, it's all dry weather with that area of high pressure. The warmest temperatures actually in the eastern side of Europe on Tuesday. Scandinavia looking quite chilly and certainly cooler. Not cold, but certainly cooler in the west. Ireland, UK, France, Spain, Portugal, probably the Low Countries and Western Germany beginning to see the temperature returning back closer to average. Wednesday, we'll see high pressure dominating over on the eastern side of Europe, lower pressure continuing to move in to the west from off the Atlantic. Upper air temperature relatively mild in most areas, but warmest upper air temperatures in the eastern part of Europe. Much more unsettled look to the weather by midweek across the west of Europe as well, with outbreaks of rain from off the Atlantic into much of Western Europe, beginning to push some of that in towards the east and the northeast of Europe as well. However, many eastern parts of Europe and much of the East Med mostly dry from Italy eastwards. The dry spell continues. The survey temperatures look like that. Back to average really for the UK, Ireland through France, Spain, Portugal, Low Countries and Germany. The warmth being squeezed, I think, more towards that southeastern corner, the Baltic, Asiatic, Balkans, I should say, towards the Black Sea and down in towards Greece and Turkey. That's where the warmest of the temperatures is being squeezed away to. On Thursday, we find wet and windy weather into the UK and Ireland, with this area of low pressure, high pressure trying to reach back in from the Azores or Spain, Portugal and France, and the last of the high pressure that's brought the warm conditions easing away into western parts of Russia. The upper air temperatures quite warm in the east and southeast of Europe, about average, so cooler further north and west. And there's further outbreaks of rain sweeping in from off the Atlantic and now progressing the right way in towards central parts of Europe. So we've got wet weather here through much of Norway, Sweden, down into Poland as well, and begin to push through towards that southeastern corner as well. Some heavy rain around Hungary, for example, and beginning to move towards the Balkans. The extreme east and southeast Europe still mainly dry, and Spain, Portugal looks dry as well as that ridge of high pressure tries to get in from off the Azores. The surface temperature is looking cooler in many parts of Europe, just the last residual leftover legacy of the current warm spell there in the far southeastern corner, Romania, around the Black Sea, for example, in this extreme southeastern corner, probably Greece and maybe Turkey, looking relatively warm. But otherwise, it is a cooler scene. There is a cool down going on with the air coming in from off the Atlantic, returning temperature back closer to average. And looking quite cold in northern parts of Scandinavia. Let's just run on to day 10. So this is Friday next week, 4th of November. Where we've got more low pressure heading in from off the Atlantic. And we go into the weekend of the 5th and the 6th of November, looking relatively unsettled in the north and west Europe with outbreaks of rain through there. High pressure still trying to hang on across southern and southwestern parts of Europe, so the warm spell trying to come back there. But overall, I think northern and western Europe in particular looking rather unsettled through that first weekend of November. Right, so that's it for the European outlook for this week. Quite an interesting week because we're starting off with this extremely warm spell of weather, and we will gradually see the Atlantic breaking that down and shunting the warmth over to the eastern side of Europe. Temperatures will cool down only to average, but you will notice that next week is a cooler week across particularly many western parts of Europe. Right, that's it then for European Outlook this week. We'll do it all over again next week. We're going to be back at 6 p.m. with our 10 to 14 day live. And then straight after that, we will have the fourth and final sneak peek for Christmas 2022. For this week's European Outlook, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.